Have you ever launched Minecraft on a weaker system and instantly noticed something feels wrong? The world loads in slowly, chunks pop in right in front of you, your FPS sits in the 30s or even lower, and moving your mouse does not feel smooth at all. It's frustrating. Minecraft is not looking like a demanding game. It is made of blocks, so why does it struggle so much on certain systems? We are starting at the operating system level and working our way all the way into Minecraft itself. By the end of this video, you will have a proper optimization framework you can use in 2026 to give your hardware the best possible chance to run the game as smooth as possible. To begin, we have to go to the operating system and system level optimizations, so we will quit Minecraft and visit the desktop. Now that we are on the desktop of my computer, let's start with the first things. You have to keep your GPU drivers up to date. That's one of the most important things. Sometimes they publish a new version and maybe it has some optimizations for the game you're playing. In this video we are talking about Minecraft, but in general maybe a driver for the GPU or CPU also can make a difference. So for AMD, for example, I have to use Adrenaline and I see I am up to date apparently. You should check this for Nvidia in, for example, the Nvidia app, or for Intel in their graphics app, and for everything else on a notebook, for example, most often some software is already installed which notifies you or which you can use to update the driver. Make sure Minecraft uses the correct GPU. If you are playing on a laptop or on a computer which has multiple graphics devices, you want to make sure that you don't use the iGPU, so the integrated GPU from your CPU, to play the game. You have to sometimes tell the system, hey, please use this GPU to process this. You can go in the settings by using Windows key and I, and you can go to Display and go to Graphics. And here you see all my games or things I said I want to process with a certain priority or with a certain GPU. I only have one GPU and my CPU doesn't have an iGPU, so I can't choose anything, but you want to add Minecraft on here by add desktop app, and you simply search for the java w.exe, because that's the software which is actually launching the Minecraft code, and therefore this software has to get the priority. Then you can set the GPU preference. In my case, I only have this, but you say high performance, and this should be everything. The next important thing is to close all useless background applications which you don't need, which simply hog resources. So you can do right click on the taskbar, task manager, and now you can see all the processes we have available here. It's a few, but my system is, I would say, pretty optimized. I removed a lot of stuff and I control a lot of things, so not that much junk is running on my system. If you want to have a video about this, let me know in the comments, by the way. So you should disable everything to not start with the system or run in the background at all. So you can go to startup apps here on the left. And you see I have a bunch of stuff, but only this stuff here is enabled. Everything else is disabled. And I have my reasons. So when we look here in the hidden icons, you can see it's not that much running in the background actually, which is in the tray. So you should go here and check what things you actually need. And if you think you don't need it, right click and disable, or enable if you accidentally disabled something. The next thing to think about is antivirus. If you constantly download unknown software, for example, maybe from GitHub or other pages which are not that nice, you should keep any protection active at all. But heavy third-party antivirus software can consume noticeable amount of resources. For example, Bitdefender and so on can typically hog about half or 1 gigabyte of memory in total, and they use the CPU in the background actively. And that is less power you have to play. So if you don't do anything with unknown software and you know what you're doing, you could, as an opportunity, try to disable the software or use Windows Defender, because it's a bit lighter and you can control the software easier. You could say you disable it for playing and enable it if you're done. But do not blindly disable any security. I just want to make sure you know and you are aware of this impact. You can also disable Xbox Game Bar and DVR. So if you don't use Xbox Game Bar to record stuff or do anything with the media features they provide, you can turn them off in the Windows settings. Some systems show measurable performance improvements when these features are disabled. If you rely on them, keep them enabled. If you never use them, there's no reason to let them run. You can do Windows and I and go to gaming and you see Game Bar. You can toggle it to off, and game mode, you can toggle it to on, and that's everything here. One thing you can try, especially on notebooks or laptops, you can set the Powerplan to high performance, or you can adjust how the CPU is used in the Powerplan. Press Windows key and type in Powerplan and go to choose a Powerplan. And we see we have high performance, change plan settings, change advanced power settings. And here we see a lot of detailed informations. For example, you want to make this 0. We don't want to turn off any disk. We also want to check the processor power management. That's the thing I said before. And we see the minimum power the system tells the CPU to use is 100%, and the maximum is also 100. So if you have to, for example, save power because you don't want to simply waste power, you can simply set this to a lower number. But if you want the maximum power, especially on notebooks, I would say you try to up this one and maybe see if this does anything. Maybe you ask yourself now, why can't I use Linux? You can use Linux if you want. Linux can sometimes offer better raw performance because it's light, very light in comparison to Windows or macOS. It has less background overhead than Windows, and it's getting better every day. On the other hand, you have to have compatible hardware. Only on compatible hardware with the proper drivers, Minecraft can run smoothly. However, hardware acceleration and certain compatibility problems can be more complicated or less complicated depending on your setup. Not all CPUs and GPUs are perfectly usable on every Linux distribution. Linux can be great for performance, and many people are going to Linux nowadays because Windows is getting bloated more and more, so it can be a tryout if you want to use it and maybe check if your performance is better. I suppose especially on older hardware or very weak systems, it could be an enhancement. Now also to macOS. I'm not only a Windows user, I'm also a macOS user, so I want to quickly note something about macOS, especially Apple Silicon. So they are already highly optimized, still as before, closing unnecessary background apps, keeping your system updated. Most importantly, be aware of the resolution. macOS displays, typically MacBook displays or all Mac systems, run at a very high resolution, and this draws performance drastically. So lowering the in-game resolution can significantly improve the performance, and visually it still blocks. It won't look that much different, but the performance will definitely be higher. Memory allocation principles apply exactly the same way, and we will talk about them now. So we will go back into the Minecraft launcher to take a look at them. Here we are in the Minecraft launcher for Minecraft Java Edition. Minecraft runs, as I said, on Java, and proper memory allocation is critical. By default, you get, I think, 2 or 4 gigabytes. In the launcher, we will open the installations settings, and if you know the profile you're using, you can simply press on the 3 dots and edit. And you have to open the more options. They say we have to be cautious. You don't have to worry. You can simply click here. You can still press reset at any time. You see I have 6 and 8. You see these XMS and XMX parameters. They are very simple. The parameter XMX controls the maximum amount of memory Minecraft can use in total. The parameter XMS, so the first one, controls the initial amount of memory that is allocated even if it is not needed. So in my case, Minecraft gets 6 gigabytes by default. It doesn't need 6 gigabytes, it just gets it, and if it ever needs it, it has it. And if it even needs more, it has up to 8 gigabytes in total available, which could be used. It's a bit much, but I have 32 gigabytes and my system is optimized in general, so I just let it be like this. I will post this JVM argument in my description as well. You can try them out. You may have to play with the memory amount, and I want to talk about this now. If you have 4 GB of total system memory, you should probably set the XMX to 1 GB or 2 and don't use XMS. So you tell Java to use 1 or 2 as a maximum, no more than that. If you have 8 GB of memory, you can start with 2 GB of maximum, but you can also try more. If you are using more mods, like Forge for example, you should definitely start at 4 GB with XMX. If you have more than 8 GB in total on your system, I think you could use XMX with 4 GB at a baseline if you don't have anything other opened. If you are heavily modded, you can test XMX 6 GB. In general, I would say XMS, so the value which is given before it is even needed, should be probably always at about 2 GB. In general is probably a safe value, and XMX can then be tuned further. But you shouldn't go overboard. Too much RAM can cause longer garbage collection, so this is a Java feature which collects stuff which is not needed to remove it, and this could actually reduce the performance. So I would try this out. But this is not that important. Back in older Minecraft versions like 1.8, we had long custom JVM flags which were popular, and they actually made a huge difference sometimes. So today we could focus on XMS and XMX, and the general system around this should work totally fine too. Now that we covered this, I'd say we go over to the Minecraft video settings in-game and look at those. Back in game, I want to quickly add a note. This is not the vanilla UI you're seeing here. This is a modded environment with a lot of optimization mods installed. If you want serious performance improvements, use Fabric as your mod loader and use mods like I am using right now, like Sodium, Lithium, Modern Fix, Immediately Fast. These mods significantly improve rendering efficiency, game logic, and memory handling. If you want a full breakdown of performance mods you can use for both Windows and macOS, I made a dedicated video about performance mods. You can check that out in the top right. It's not that hard. It's like 5 to 8 mods you download for the right version and put in your mods folder, install the Fabric installer, and that's everything. You can check the video out in the top right if you want a deeper explanation and full setup guide. With a proper Fabric optimization setup, you can often increase the render distance even more because you have more performance while maintaining stable FPS compared to a vanilla game. Now that your system is optimized and you know of my setup and the general performance optimizations mods we have at hand, let's go to the settings. I will try to keep it vanilla, but you see we have a lot more options and even shaders, and they look nice. For example, the biggest performance factor is probably the render distance. As they say, it's high, and I have it at 16 chunks. I am on a dedicated server, so this is not my system. If you are playing locally, you will feel every FPS you can get out. So you should try to lower the render distance to something like 8 or 6. And just see if you're comfortable with it. Same goes for the simulation distance. I will keep it always a tiny bit under the render distance. The next thing is the graphics quality. So I have it at fancy, but they say it's high. So if you go with fast, for example, you get a lot more FPS and it's still a blocky game. It doesn't change. Also the clouds, for example, if you're not using shaders, like I am doing, you could turn the clouds off. It's a small impact, but you should try everything you can do to get more performance. As I also have it, you should disable smooth lighting only if you really need it and want it. They say it's low, but if we combine all the low changes we don't need, we get a lot of performance aggregated. Particles, you could reduce it. I like to keep the particles active at the highest level, even if they draw performance. It's a big part of the game and it adds a lot of detail, so I want to keep it active. You can disable things like entity shadows and the vignette, but some of these settings here are not available in the vanilla game, so look at Fabric, my recommendation. The mipmap levels are available and you should turn them off or keep at 2. The higher, the more performance is needed. We have a lot of other settings you can try out. These settings are not available in the normal game, as they are two, these also, and these. So you have not that much possibilities in the vanilla settings. But what you could do is you could cap your frame rate at, for example, a smooth number. So, for example, 60 FPS is where the eyes feel something looks smooth. So if you cap it at 60, your system doesn't try to generate more FPS than that, and the game could feel smoother actually. So in general, I would look at Fabric to install these mods. So you have a bunch of more options. You could, for example, control every fog type. If you say you don't like fog, you could disable it completely and get a slight performance improvement. The same goes for the sky, the stars. If you don't need those details, you can simply disable these things and get the performance you couldn't have normally. In newer Minecraft versions, there are traditionally more visual tweaks available depending on your setup. The rule is simple: if it increases the visual quality, and they say it may look smoother, it may look nicer, it may look cleaner, it probably increases your system's workload, and the performance is your priority. Reduce visual extras first if you can. And now to the last part. Mojang is currently migrating Minecraft's graphics code behind everything that renders the game and the blocks you're seeing to Vulkan. Vulkan I also covered in my performance mods video you can check out. It's another engine and they hope to get more performance out of the game by transitioning to Vulkan. This is a major technical change. When Vulkan becomes the standard renderer, some existing rendering mods may break for the time being until they are updated. For now, the current optimization mods I talked about today in my dedicated video are fully relevant and extremely effective on most systems. When Vulkan is fully rolled out in the stable release, I will create a detailed video explaining exactly what changes and how you should configure your setup, so stay tuned for that. If you follow all those things we just went through, you can maximize your results on your system, and even low-end systems in 2026 can run Minecraft far smoother than most people expect and think. If this video helped you, like it, maybe share it with someone that needs a little help with their system, and don't forget to subscribe to see more content like this, and I see you in the next one.